You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile we put Ghana first. As you can see, it does appear even if you took education and decided to go to every bit of the promises or the manifesto policies regarding education, you will not be able to exhaust it on Newsfile, because the NPP has 20, is it 20 or 22 promises for education, and then NDC has as many as 86 of promises in that area. So let's see, to wrap up. Unfortunately, we cannot deal with the other areas of jobs and healthcare. We will deal with them. We'll adopt a progressively free process of discussing the manifesto and to see if we can exhaust them from time to time. Yes, but I'll come to Abochi and Bokpin on your final comments on what you spoke about, questions of funding and the rest of them, how we should go forward in that regard in funding these manifesto promises. The suggestion is that the NDC appears to because they say they went to speak to people, they appear to have provided direct answers to issues that are on the front burner. So if you took jobs, the Okada issue, they seem to have a superior, command over that. But in the education area, the government has been a bit insistent, the education ministry, in going ahead with the public universities bill. For example, they say, the universities say they don't want it, we'll kill it. So how do you find the two in attracting, voters with their manifestos? We just spoke about law school, where there's a huge backlog, and this appears to be, if they really will vote according to that, because they want to have entry direct, then the NDC has provided them the answers. What do you say? Now,
the issue with regards to the public universities bill, which the NDC has promised to kill, it is something, the NDC position is something that is very popular with the University Teachers Association of Ghana. In fact, on the 16th, that is coming Wednesday, if I'm no longer a university teacher, I've tried, but they have invited my organization to join them in a press conference against this bill. What is the issue? Their main issue with this bill is that if it is allowed to go in its present form, then it will take the traditional academic autonomy that the university has been enjoying ever since universities sprang up in this country.
All right.
For example, there's this particular clause which says that the Minister of Education shall give directives and the university shall comply. I mean, it's unheard of. At no point in time from the period of Kwame Nkrumah have the universities, been subjected to this kind of direct control from the Ministry of Education. There's the question of University Council. The University Council is the body that manages and handles the policies of the university. The representation of it on it under the present PUB, for example, the university lecturers are complaining there's a preponderance of government representatives.
So the question is, if you take out free SHS,
yes,
which the NDC can't seem to beat the NPP on, that's their baby, and they say we did it. We say we can do it. We have done it. So we'll go ahead. If you take free SHS, does the NDC have more policy, manifesto policy issues that resonate with the education stakeholders than the NPP?
No, on this particular bill, I would say yes. Most university lecturers are very angry with the public universities bill. Now, it doesn't mean that they are going to vote against the government for that reason. Okay. What it means is that if you be respectful enough of us to sit down and discuss the sections of the bill that you object to,
okay,
fine.
All right. All right. Professor Bokpin, what will be your final comments on the issues we have looked at so far, particularly with regards to your aversion to the short-termism approach and the quantity as against quality approach?
Yeah, thank you very much, Samson. I think you raised an important issue which has to do with the funding. And then I think the political parties must come again with greater assurance as to the funding and how to translate their promises into actual. But before that, I want to say that I find something unique about the NPP manifesto, and I felt that the NDC could have done better. The reason I'm saying so is that both parties have been in government before. So if you see, and that explains the reason why the NPP has fewer promises compared to the NDC. So apart from competing on the basis of who is able to promise more and all of that, but I think it's becoming obvious that promises and the ability to translate that into actual is very, very wide. So nobody should be deceived into just believing in a party solely because it promises more or promises less. We should be interested in the credibility. And one way of judging the credibility, I think the MPP seeks to solve that. If you look at the way they've done their manifesto, and I'm saying this because not only that they are promising, they are also showing some demonstrable track record. Because the context of 2020 is not like for the unknowns completely. The NDC and the MPP have all been in government and they all have record. So the campaign must not be restricted to solely the fact that we promise more, or the people are asking for this and therefore we are just promising. It would have been good for the NDC to also demonstrate side by side the numerous promises what their record has been. That will give us a little bit of credibility as to the ability to translate this into actual. And that would also give us an idea of whether they really understand the times and the season.
But is that a fair critique of their job? Because the government in power now is the NPP. And they decide that in their manifesto, they will do accounting and then say what they want to consolidate on. The NDC is not in power, it's in opposition. So if it's offering alternatives, maybe it is brainstorming more than the NPP is doing and giving the options, more options than the NPP is doing, right?
Fine, but they have track record. They have been in government before. Why am I saying this? You see, so if you scan the market, even from the international perspective, the NDC in 2015, actually in 2014, went to the IMF for lack of policy credibility and market confidence. It's very, very important. So if you are saying that you can deliver on all these things, my best bet will be your last 4 years that you have been in government, what you have done. And I was expecting that I'll see something from there. Then again, you also see that, and why this is important, something you see. If you pick health and some other areas, you see some promises that the NDC has made that are actually ongoing right now that the government is doing. In fact, if you pick the media review and you see the bloated fiscal deficit also because of the ring-fence health-related expenditures, district hospitals.
So it is expected of the NDC
in that area.
So is it not expected of the NDC, Professor Bokpin, is it not expected of the NDC that although something may be ongoing, they need to state what they will do differently in the same vein? And you have some physicians who endorse the NDC's policies on health, and they take, for example, the mental health, what they propose, and they say the NDC is miles ahead of the NPP when it comes to mental health in what they want to do in policy-wise.
I am not talking about all the promises that are in there. I'm saying some of them, and you can see some of them in there. In fact, if you look at the point that Kwekubako was also talking about, even about abolishing the double track, okay, a baseline investigation in the sector clearly tells you that a lot is being done, and particularly the fact that the timeline wasn't provided in the manifesto and all of that gives credence to that extent. What I'm saying is that we should not create the enterprise where it is the case that promise and get away.
All right, thank you. Yes, Mr. Kofi Abochi, what will be your final comments in the area that we have, interrogated as regards education? Unfortunately, there are other areas that you guys prepared for, but we have not been able to deal with.
Yes. So first of all, I think that we have to concentrate. I didn't see anything in the two manifestos on the issue of promoting efficiency in budgetary allocation. Over the years, the education sector has witnessed a lot of budgetary allocation, but it hasn't really translated into the efficiency of allocation and deployment in terms of the actuals on the ground. So I would have expected to see more of that in both manifestos. I didn't see much of that. The public universities bill has generally been criticized. And, I think as Professor Jonah mentioned, there's some disquiet, particularly in the area of control. The fact that the sector minister can give directives to the universities must comply. There's a history to this. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time, but there's a history to the reason why universities the world over are made autonomous. There's always the attempt to avoid, if you like, the politicization of academia. So it's important that that part be looked at. The free SHS has come to stay, as you've all indicated, and that's important. The two parties, particularly the NDC, emphasizes optimizing the quality of education. I will expect that both parties, either of them, whichever becomes the government in 2021, will promote the issue of the quality level. It looks like we've made a lot of strides on the access level, so we'll probably go to the quality level. And to ensure that Ghana does well, particularly on global performance indexes. It doesn't seem we've been doing well over the years, particularly in recent times. So we need to promote that aspect in order to ensure that our access is matched equally by quality output. For the overall, as far as the manifestos are concerned, I think I agree with my colleagues that we have to demonstrate delivery capacity. It's beautiful promises that have been put out there, but it's important that we see the costing, we see the capacity to deliver, particularly as we are going to have certain shortfalls and pressures on government revenue because of COVID in 2021. We can't have the two matching, i.e. shortfalls in revenue, a lot of promises.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we definitely will continue interrogating these two manifestos and exacting the practicality of the implementation of these things in there. I want to say we are so indebted to you, Dr. Kwesi Jonah, Senior Research Fellow, Institute for Democratic Governance, IDEC. A lot of governance issues in this manifesto that he could be talking about, so we would have to plan this and get these issues dealt with. Professor Godfrey A. Bokpin, economist and professor of finance, University of Ghana. Larry K. Agbado is editor, Colleges of Education, Weekly Journal. Kofi Abochi is dean, UPSA Law School. And Abdul Malik Kubako is editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper and our regular panelist here on Newsfile.
It appears people are not comfortable
with
my presence.
As for that, there's a lot of it out there. But all I can say is that, you see, let's stop. Don't insult. If you really want, just send messages. And don't do this thing about trying to pigeonhole people into particular parties. It doesn't help. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Join us again next week, God willing, on this show. And we'll continue with the discussion. I'm Samson Ladi Anyanini.